Welcome guys to the Meet Damien live stream. Today's video we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and crypto, possibly some technology stocks if you guys want to talk about the technology sell-off. We did have a sell-off here in the markets related to technology stocks are still being sold off. Some people saying that there's a rotation going on where investors are trying to buy stocks that are related to the interest rates, and that might be more exposed to interest rate cuts. So the technology stocks are actually getting sold off, so that way people can buy some other stocks here in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones that are actually gonna benefit from interest rate cuts. Think companies like mortgage companies like Rocket Mortgage has been doing well since they've been cutting interest rates here. But yeah, let's get into it, guys. We're gonna take a look at Bitcoin first here. I want to start off Bitcoin on the monthly chart because I just want to remind some people here that we are still in what I call a bear market. Okay, I don't know. Some people don't want to call it a bear market. I'm not afraid to call it a bear market when I see one. Okay, but yeah, we're looking at Bitcoin currently trading at $85,800 here. On the monthly time frame, there is a moving average here that's pretty important for us to look at. That is the 21 exponential moving average, which is this white line. I also got the 50 exponential moving average, this blue line right below it. Okay, but you can see here, this is the monthly time frame here, guys. This is like taking like the biggest, one of the highest time frames that you can find on Bitcoin and crypto. And it has a lot of significance. It's a great place to start before we start looking at smaller time frames here. But yeah, let's try to get the big picture here, guys. All right, because some people are trying to figure out: are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? Is this the end of the bull run? I want to be able to show you guys what I see in the charts, and then you can make your own conclusions as to whether or not we're in a bear market or bull market. Okay, but here on the 21 EMA, right, this white line shows that we should be at 87,470 if we're going to continue being bullish here. Right now we're below that. We're at 85,900. Now, tomorrow we might be at 87,400, but we're flirting with losing this 21 EMA. Last time we lost the 21 EMA on the monthly time frame was like right around here in April of 2022. Okay, that was well after we made the highs in 2021 where Bitcoin went up to $69,000. Okay, at $69,000, we that was the high water mark. Some people thought Bitcoin was going to go to 100 grand at the time. Then the following month in December of 2021, we had a red candle here. We lost 18%. Then we had another red candle here on the monthly time frame at lost 16% in January 2022. Then we had a little bit of a relief rally, which is kind of like I think what we got going on this past few weeks here with Bitcoin. But we had a little bit of a relief rally, and then we lost the momentum, and then we lost this 21 EMA. We actually lost the 21 EMA on the monthly time frame in April 2022. And then here, May and June, obviously some more bad months where by the time it was all said and done in June of 2022, Bitcoin was at like $17,000 at its lowest point after being at $69,000 about 6 months ago. Okay, so that just goes to show you how fast these bear markets can come and hit you and punch you in the face here when there actually is a bear market going on. And that was like 6 months into the bear market. Then we had another bad 6 months, you know, going into like November of 2022 and December of 2022, where Bitcoin actually went as low as like $15,000. Like, I remember that. I was in the markets. I remember the FTX bankruptcy. I've been in the markets longer than the FTX bankruptcy. I've been trading crypto since 2017, okay? So I've seen a couple of bear markets, and it looks like we're about to get our third bear market here, or at least I'm about to see my third bear market here in crypto. All right. So right now, we are flirting with losing the 21 EMA. You could say that's similar to what we did here in December 2021, you know, in January 2022, around that time, where we were flirting with losing the 21 EMA. We might get a couple of good months, like we saw back here in earlier 2022. I think that would be a welcome relief for a lot of cryptocurrency investors and traders out there, because all we've seen the last 3 months here, starting with October, was a red month in October, a red month here in November, and looks like we're clearly doing a red month here in December. So, you know, I think a relief rally would be a welcome relief here if we can get that either this month or next month. But right now, not looking so good, at least on the monthly time frame. Then before I get into smaller time frames here, guys, I want to show you here what the MACD is doing here, okay? Because I think this is also important here. On the MACD, we're getting red candles showing up here on the monthly MACD indicator here, okay? Last time we had red candles showing up in the monthly, on the monthly time frame, was during the bear market of 2022, okay? So we're seeing that right now, the beginnings of what could possibly be a bear market here in Bitcoin, okay? Not the worst thing, you know. I mean, if you want to buy some cheaper crypto, you guys might get that opportunity in the next few months and going into 2026 here. If this is going to end up being a bear market, then, you know, this is the time to figure out what cryptocurrencies you want to get into that you think are going to actually do well going into like the years later, you know, like 2027, 2028 might be some better years for crypto, okay? But right now, I mean, we're getting the red candles here that started showing up here in January 2022. Our red candle started showing up here in November of 2025 here. So we could get the beginning of a bear market here, okay? On the monthly time frame. That's what I'm seeing on the monthly time frame here, okay? Now let me move on to the weekly time frame, because there's another there's another moving average that I want to take a look at here. That kind of shows it shows us that we might be in a bear market here, okay? And right now, right, Bitcoin at 85,960. We got this 50 exponential moving average here. This blue line here is taking, like, you know, all the candles from the last 50 weeks, averaging out, putting more of an emphasis in the most recent data. That's why it's an exponential moving average, okay? But we lost that 50-week exponential moving average here in the first week of November, okay? And then second week of November, you know, was also bad. And the third week, and now here we are. We're into the second week of December, and we're getting weekly candle closes below this exponential moving average. So far, you know, throughout this bull run, we've been staying above it. We flirt around with losing this 50 EMA back here in April, when we had the Trump tariffs, and then there was a pause on tariffs that actually sent us back up to higher prices. We flirted with losing it, but we didn't actually lose it. We actually lost it here in November, okay? We flirted around with losing it here in September of 2024, but then, I don't know, I guess you could say, like, Donald Trump got elected, and that sent us up to higher prices, if that's what you want to call it, all right? But this 50 exponential moving average on the weekly time frame is a good guidance as to, like, whether we're still in the bull run. And as long as we're above it, we're in the bull run. If we're below it, guys, I have to call it what it is. We're in a downtrend at the very least. If you don't want to call it a bear market, we're in a downtrend, a significant downtrend that put us below the 50 exponential moving average, okay? But like back here, just looking at history, okay? All right, back in like 2021, we stayed above that 50 exponential moving average for the most part. We actually played around with losing it. We actually did lose it a little bit here in like July of 2021, okay? And then, you know, we caught some bids. I'm not sure what the reason was around that time. It was just, you know, just oversold bounce or whatever, and then people started FOMOing back into Bitcoin and crypto, and then we were able to get like another higher high than what we did here in April 2021, where we saw Bitcoin at $69,000 here in November of 2021. But we didn't actually lose the 21 EMA for good until like January 2022, which, I mean, some people would say that was probably the beginning of the bear market for Bitcoin at the time. Okay. And then of course we tried one more time. So this is what I think we could still see maybe in the next few weeks, few months, if we get something that gives us positive catalysts here for Bitcoin. But we actually did try to reclaim and get above the 50 exponential moving average here back here in 2022. But then we got rejected here in March and April. And then that was it. That was game over. You lost your 50 exponential moving average. And look at this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 bad weeks in a row of just Bitcoin losing value. Imagine that. Like that's the bear market, right? That's the thing that a lot of people are afraid of, is a possible bear market. Some people see it as an opportunity where we can actually buy some cheaper cryptocurrencies here. But yeah, I mean, this is the way it's looking like for Bitcoin, where we lost that 50 exponential moving average. And I've been in a couple of bear markets in crypto myself, right? I've seen, the highs in 2017, and then I've seen, Bitcoin, suffer in 2018. And then the same thing, I've seen the highs in 2021, and I see Bitcoin suffer in 2022. And to be honest with you guys, like I feel like this drop from like 126K was a lot more faster and brutal than the drop that we've seen back in 2021 and also in 2017. I don't know. To me, it felt like it was a little bit more brutal. Okay, probably because we didn't really get that high. Some people were anticipating Bitcoin to go to like 150 or 200K, and we never actually seen that happen. And I think we weren't really too far off from like peeling over and falling apart here on Bitcoin. So that's what I'm seeing here on the charts, and this is on the weekly time frame. Let me just pull some oscillators here so you guys can see what I'm also looking at here with the oscillators here on the weekly time frame. On the weekly time frame, we can see that selling pressure has been dying down. Okay, I'm sorry, selling pressure has been increasing. Okay, but now selling pressure is starting to die down in the last few weeks here. Okay. We need to see selling pressure continue to die down if we're actually going to see a little bit of a relief rally going on here. Okay. But yeah, we had that MACD crossover here where we went from the blue line, dipped below the orange line. That happened around August 2018. I'm sorry, not August 18th of 2025. Sorry about that. And that was pretty much the beginnings of when I was starting to get worried about crypto. Was around that time. Even though we came up and made an all-time high in October of 2025 here, when we went up to like $126,000 on October 6th. I was worrying about Bitcoin back in August when I saw this MACD crossover on the weekly time frame. Okay, because that is not bullish. All right, if bullish is like you are climbing and these moving averages on the MACD time frame don't even touch each other. Okay, when they start touching each other, especially after a big run up, right? Let me just go back in the charts here, but after we have a big run up and the lines start crossing each other, that's not good to see. Okay, all right, we had a run up here in the summer, and then the lines started crossing in August, and I was like, oh no, this is not good, not good. But I still gave it the benefit of the doubt. But now, I can't give the benefit of the doubt anymore because we are still making lower highs and lower lows on the time frames here. If I go into the daily time frame, it makes it a little bit more obvious that we are making lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, and lower lows to get down to those lower highs here. The only thing I can do now, I feel like I've been very, very bearish here. Okay. But the only saving grace for the bulls right now is right now you are trying to make higher lows here in this little bit of a relief rally, a little bit of a counter trend rally that you're trying to do here. But I mean, you're flirting with danger again here with Bitcoin being at $86,000 going down to like 85,000 earlier today. I think the bulls have to show that we can stay above this last higher low here at 83,800. Okay, stay above that area, and I think you can continue making the case that we're making higher lows here. Okay, and you have been making higher highs relatively, but you haven't been making significant higher highs. Like the last high that we need to get above is this lower high here at 107,480 on Bitcoin, which we did here on November 11th. Okay, does anybody remember Bitcoin being 100K? Because it was only a month ago, right? All right, but we were at 107,482 here, and that was the last lower high. And now we have to start wondering if we're going to continue going down, especially if we make a lower low and go lower than the 80K area that we did here on November 21st. Then this starts to look like this could be the last lower high, okay? Before we have to then what? Make another lower low and go to lower prices here. And I know some people are probably calling for Bitcoin to go back to 74K because that's where Bitcoin was at back here in April, okay? That could be an area to look out for below us if we start losing levels here on Bitcoin. But let me go ahead and pull up the VRVP indicator here. It's going to show you some other levels to look out for besides 74K. I know you guys are probably looking at 74K, but the VRVP indicator is this indicator off on the right. Shows you the buys and sells. The buys are the green, the red is all the sells at particular price points here, particular price levels. And we do have a high volume node here at 84K, so we actually have to go below 84K. All right, that's why I say 84K is pretty important for us, because not only does it show up on the charts here as a possible higher low that we could possibly make, okay, but it is showing up here on the VRVP indicator here, where we got a high volume node here at about 84K. If we lose that, then you know there is showing here that on the value area, we have a value area low sitting at about 81K. And I think that's probably because we had that reaction here at 80K, you know, a few weeks ago on November 21st. Okay, but there's also some people that bought here around 81K in April and March. So the VRVP indicator is taking that into account, that the people that bought here in March and April earlier this year, they're not going to actually click the sell button until they're underwater, right? If these are long-term investors for Bitcoin, you know, they're still actually in profit right now. Only about a couple of, you know, a couple of thousand, maybe a few $1,000s here, okay? But they're still in profit. It's not until they start losing and they start seeing their you know, their investment in Bitcoin going into negative territory that they would probably click the sell button as well. So I think, you know, we could see a bounce off of 81K as well as a bounce off of 84K if we're going to take it that far down here on Bitcoin. All right. But let me get into the chat, try to catch up with you guys, see what you guys are saying here in the chat. I know I did a little long spiel there, but I gave you guys my thoughts and opinions about Bitcoin. I didn't really go over upside targets, but we could try to make a bullish case here about what the upside targets might be for Bitcoin. Let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. We do have C Interest says always wrong and too bullish, just stop. I'm not bullish. I already told you I'm bearish on Bitcoin. We're in a bear market. I literally gave you the bear market case over the last 20 minutes here while I was on this live stream. I just basically said that, you know, Bitcoin has been looking bearish since August, even though we made a new all-time high in October. All right, the indicators and the momentum indicators were showing that Bitcoin was stalling out back in August. Okay, so I don't know why you think I'm being too bullish here. Unless you're not paying attention, or unless you're just trying to troll. There's really no bullish undertone in anything that I said in the last 20 minutes here. Okay, but you know, there is the possibility that we could be doing a relief rally right now, and that's the only thing that the bulls got going for them right now, is a potential relief rally here. All right, but anyways, that's enough of that. Let's see what else some people have to say here. I see Mason Shores in the chat. Good to see you. Let's see. Shaji says, quick question: do you think Ethereum will go to 2750? I mean, aren't we already on our way there? Okay, we're at 2900 for Ethereum. Yeah, if Bitcoin continues selling off, I think we saw Ethereum get down to like 2700 back in November, right? Back in November. On November 21st, we saw Ethereum go down to 2,600. If Bitcoin goes back to 80K, you can expect Ethereum to go right down to 2,700, probably even lower. Might even go down to 2,500. Let me just quickly pull up the VRVP indicator here real quick here. You know, if Ethereum was to start dropping down and losing the levels that it's at right now, there is a gap in the VRVP indicator, but there is a little bit of a volume node here at 2760, 2750, somewhere where you're looking at. But there's even more support for Ethereum at 2500. That's that point of control there, the highest volume node, that blue line there. That's where, you know, a good majority of people were buying Ethereum back here in May and in June. You would think these people would probably provide some support, because they would just be at break even if Ethereum goes down to $2,500. But yeah, $2,500 would be the next downside target if 2750 doesn't hold for Ethereum. Let's see what we got here in the comments here. All right. Numazi Matka says, look at us like a rock. I hope we go to 1 trillion market cap so you can buy all of it. Why would you buy Bitcoin when Ethereum gives you more in 5 years? 48 times. I'm just reading your comments here. All right. And then I see a few people that follow me. Thank you for following me. And I see Lorene's in the chat. Lorene wants to take a look at pudgy penguins. We can do that. Let me just try to finish up my analysis here on Bitcoin and try to give a little bit of a bullish case here, but it's not looking too good, I'll tell you that. The only thing I can think of that could be a saving grace for Bitcoin and crypto and the technology stocks is the jobs report's coming out tomorrow for the United States, and they're already expecting it to be weaker than the previous jobs report. But if it's really weak, then maybe we might see some more interest rate cuts going into next month, and I think they do another meeting in March as well. But anyways, let me go ahead and write down this request. Pengu, pudgy penguins. Tav Galal says, so we going to 45K? We got to go through a few levels before we get down to 45K. There's going to be some support for Bitcoin at 80K again, and then there's going to be some more support at 70K, and then there's even more support for Bitcoin at 60K. So let me just show that to you here on the VRVP, right? If I zoom out and pull up this data here for Bitcoin, right? You got a value area low at 77K. Then you got a high volume node here at 76K. I know some people eyeballing 74K only because it was a low for the year, but there is actually some support at 76K. A good majority of people were buying Bitcoin at 76K because 74K, I think 74K Bitcoin only happened when like most people in the United States were sleeping. So no one actually got a chance to buy Bitcoin at 74K because it happened at like 3 o'clock in the morning on like April 7th or something like that. While people were sleeping, Bitcoin was at 74K. But most of them did buy at like 76K. I actually bought some Bitcoin myself at like 76, 77K when it got down to that area. Just a little bit, right? And then, yeah, I held on to my Bitcoin and I sold some at like 96K. So there you go. All right. Bitcoin could come down if it can't hold 76K. There is a high volume node here at like 60, 67, 69K. Basically, the previous all-time highs could provide some support for Bitcoin. Then we also have like some support here at 63K and 61K. Okay, this is like high volume nodes here. You got a lot of volume to chew through before you even go down to like 40K. Okay, but could be a possibility. Could be a possibility. You just got to go through some levels first here. We're not that bearish yet. Thank you all, Lorraine, for sending me the roses here on TikTok. Appreciate that. Thank you. And hello to you, Lorraine, as well. All right. Let's see. Let's continue on here. Let's see what else you guys are saying here. Bob wants me to take a look at Solana, so I'm going to go ahead and write down these requests. I'm going to finish up here on Bitcoin. I'm going to try to make a bullish case here for Bitcoin, even though I'm very, very bearish on it. Until Bitcoin can prove me otherwise. Dog Fun says, pump that fun. Okay. Is that a request for pump.fund, or are you just making a statement? Umar Al Farouk says, what indicator am I using? That indicator is the VRVP indicator. If you type in here on TradingView, the visual range volume profile indicator, that's that indicator right there. Visible range volume profile. Okay. And then, you know, I have a video here that you can look up on TikTok. Right, let me just quickly show you here on TikTok here. But this is my TikTok channel. There's a VRVP indicator video. It's got about 1,800 views on it. One of my popular videos that I pinned up to the top of the channel. And it shows you how I set up the VRVP indicator, how I use it, how I trade with it, what I'm looking for when I'm using the VRVP indicator. Very powerful indicator that I feel most traders don't use, and we need to start using it. Okay. All right. But yeah, that's where you can find more about the VRVP indicator. All right. And then Lemon says no Christmas rally. It's kind of hard to say Christmas rally when we're dropping down like a rock like here on Bitcoin and crypto. But let me see. There is something to look for tomorrow, guys. We do have a jobs report, unemployment rate report coming out on Tuesday, December 16th, which is tomorrow. We're looking at non-farm employment change. They had 119,000 jobs in the last report. They're expecting 51,000. So they're already expecting a drop in the employment report. If we get something lower than 51,000, then that could maybe cause us to expect interest rates to get cut in January again. Okay. However, if it gets to be if it's like a negative number, then I believe that would actually cause more fear and panic in the markets, and because then it's like, all right, the United States is losing jobs and they might be going into a recession. Okay, we don't really want to go into a recession, but a weak number, maybe like getting like 40,000 or 30,000 jobs would signal to the Federal Reserve that they need to cut interest rates, and the markets might rally on that, knowing that there's going to be cheaper money going into next year if they lower interest rates. Okay. Then we got the unemployment report as well. They're expecting unemployment rate to tick up a little bit to 4.5%. The last report was at 4.4%. So they are also expecting unemployment to go up as well. And then they also got like a manufacturing PMI report and a services PMI report, which is also pretty important. And that's why it's a red folder here on Forex Factory. We want to see that be, and basically as expected at 52 on the PMI and 54 on the services PMI, because anything less than that could also spell that we might be going into a recession as well, and we don't want to see that either, because then the market gets even more skittish out there and we start selling off again. Okay, but anyways, let me get back into Bitcoin. We're going to try to make a little bit of a bullish case here if I can. Start to zoom in, and my VRP indicator is going to start to adjust itself, because I'm only showing data going back to April instead of going back to like last year. But to the upside, if Bitcoin can climb itself back up to higher prices, there is a volume node here at 91K, 91,500 is an area where Bitcoin could climb itself back up to. Maybe that happens tomorrow if we get, a rally. If we get, good news from the unemployment report and the market feels good about interest rate cuts again, then yeah, maybe we might see $91,000 Bitcoin, which is what would probably be like a 4 or 5% move up from where we are right now, which I think is doable. Okay. Then also, we also have some volume here at 94, 95K. We didn't actually hit 95K here. We came close to it, 94,640, but I think 94, 95K should be your ultimate long-term target this week for Bitcoin. That would be nice to see, because then if you see that, then people will be calling for, oh, maybe Bitcoin can go to 100K, and if Bitcoin gets up to 95K, right, I would expect significant resistance at that area. Okay, but then once you get past 95K, there's not that much resistance, and there's a little bit here at about 102K, and then there's also some more at 105K. Where you get some resistance if Bitcoin actually gets up to those areas there. Those were the areas that I was planning on, especially when we were at like 93, 94K about last week. I was expecting, you know, Bitcoin to maybe climb up to 96K, get rejected, make a higher low, and then climb up to 102K and see how it does there. Okay, but yeah, we're in a bear market, guys, unfortunately, and I don't think, you know, I would be pleasantly surprised if Bitcoin gets up to like 107, 108K. Okay, because if it does that, then you're creating the case that we're actually starting to make higher highs again on the daily time frame, and then this could all be one bad dream here, one bad nightmare, I guess. But I am expecting Bitcoin actually to climb up to maybe 96K, or maybe it climbs up to 102K before it peels over and dies off and goes into you know, going into lower prices again, where we make a lower high somewhere between 96 or 102K before we go down to lower prices here. So we got Darren in the chat. Good to see you, Darren. And we got Road Dog. Road Dog's in the chat too. Good to see you, Road Dog. And we have DZ's also in the chat here on YouTube. DZ wants to look at Hyper and not Hype, right? Hyper. Okay, I got you. And then you want to take a look at Zora as well. Okay, okay. Anybody want to take a look at stocks? Because, you know, we can look at stocks. I think the stock market was also doing bad as well. Let me just quickly look at the you know, on my watch list here, what the S&P 500 and Dow Jones was doing. The Dow Jones was down, S&P was down, but the Nasdaq was down even more at down 0.59%. And I think we're getting a little bit of a technology sell-off, but we might. I mean, I read a headline that we might actually be getting a rotation from technology stocks into, like, you know, normal stocks that are dependent on interest rates, especially with interest rate cuts. So we're starting to see rotation from, like, you know, Nvidia and Google into, like, interest rate sensitive stocks like Tesla is, well, Tesla's still a technology company, but, like, you know, Ford and GM, companies that are going to benefit from lower interest rates, like Rocket Mortgage, okay, the mortgage companies, even some of the real estate companies are going to benefit from lower interest rates, and basically like a broadening out of the stock market. So not everybody's in technology stocks, right? So there might be some of that going on, and, you know, with them leaving, with money leaving technology stocks, it actually takes away some of the sparkle and the shine from crypto, because crypto is technology, right? It's cryptocurrencies. So they get rolled into the same category as the technology stocks. So when the technology stocks are getting sold off, so that way people can go buy Ford or GM or some other stock, it actually hurts crypto as well when they do that. So let's move on and look at some other cryptocurrencies here. We're gonna take a look at Pudgy Penguins for Lorene. Oh, I got some previous chart work here. Let me get rid of this Fibonacci. I think it's no longer applicable. We're definitely below all the retracements on that Fibonacci. I'll get rid of the VRVP indicator here for now as well. And I'm going to take away the 50 EMA. So I basically got a naked chart here, guys. Okay. Pudgy Penguins. Right? Same price as it was back here in June, earlier this year. You've basically done a round trip. So you've seen your highest highs for the year, it looks like around July, when this thing was at 4.5 cents. Now you're back to the prices that you could have got this year in June, before that big run up. Okay. So I feel like Pudgy Penguin, right? I mean, if we're in a bear market, right? You could say that July was the beginning of the bear market for Pudgy Penguins. Okay. And what qualifies as a bear market? Well, in stock market world, in the traditional finance world, they consider anything where you're below 20% from the all-time high, or at least below 20% from the highs of the year, as a bear market. Okay. Also, to add to that qualification, in my own opinion, you got to be below the 200-day moving average, which we are. Okay, this red line here, this is the 200-day moving average. So you're below the 200-day moving average, and you're also below, well below 20% from the all-time high here on Pudgy Penguins. You're clearly in a bear market. So if we get any bullish, trends or patterns, if you see a bull flag start forming out of nowhere, just expect the bull flag not to play out. If you do get that, okay? And if it's, if you see something bearish like a bear flag, it's more likely going to play out where it plays out to the downside rather than getting invalidated, okay? So with that being said, yeah, you have seen some bear flags here, bear flag here, and I mean one could probably call this a possible new bear flag here for Pudgy Penguins, right? If I'm going to get into a pattern analysis here, right? I guess this is kind of like, not really. This is kind of like almost creating like a broadening wedge, all right? But if this is a bear flag, if you want to call it that, then what we have here for Pudgy Penguins is that we would expect the trend to continue on to the downside here, like we did here in November. And you just take this measure move and you put it to like where we could break down from where we are here on Pudgy Penguins, and you could see this blue number here where we could see Pudgy Penguins come down to 0.0045 pennies here. Okay, right now we're at 1 penny on Pudgy Penguins. It looks like we could come down to a little bit below a half a penny if this is a trend analysis. If this trend continues like we saw back here in November, we could see Pudgy Penguins go right down to about a half a cent here. Okay, and I think we kind of almost came down to a half a cent here on October 10th during that liquidation event. Yeah, we came down to like 0.0057 pennies, a little bit above a half a penny. So it's already happened. It's already we already know it's a possibility here. Okay. Let me go ahead and turn the VRVP indicator, see if there's anything else to look out here for levels here. Okay, so we got the VRVP indicator fired up. Point of control is showing that about 1 penny is where the majority of people have bought and sold Pudgy Penguins over the past year now. You lose that 1 penny level, and then look out below. You might get some support here at like 0.007 pennies. You got a little bit of a volume node there, but you got more support here at that half a penny level. So I think half a penny is where Pudgy Penguin goes to if we're not going to hold up on 1 penny. If 1 penny doesn't hold, right? If we're not gonna stop making lower lows here, then we're gonna continue making lower lows, and those lower lows could bring you all the way down to about a half a penny, and then maybe that's where you might be able to buy the cheapest amount of Pudgy Penguins you could possibly get it at about a half a penny. But like, if this is the bear market, right? Maybe that's the bear market low for Pudgy Penguins. But let me go ahead and try to make a bullish case here for Pudgy Penguins, right? If we're not going to make higher lows, if we're not going to make lower lows here, and we're going to actually start making higher lows, then you do have here on the VRVP indicator a high volume node here sitting about like 1.5 pennies. Okay, that's like the next level up, I think, for Pudgy Penguins. It's a level where you were trading at sideways here towards the beginning of November. Okay. So I think that's going to be your next level up for Pudgy Penguins. Maybe you might be able to sell if you have a bunch of Pudgy Penguins that you're trying to get rid of. All right, maybe you might be able to sell that at 1.5 pennies. And then that, if that ends up being the case where we make a lower high here before we start going to lower prices, that might be your best opportunity to get out of Pudgy Penguins at 1.5 pennies, roughly. Okay. But if this is, the bear market lows here, and we're just going to continue onto a new bull market here for Pudgy Penguins, then maybe we can continue to hold our spot bags here to higher prices, where we could see, the next high volume node here is about 2 pennies here, 0.021 pennies. Okay, you also got the 200-day moving average at 0.022 pennies. You get up to that level, if you can get up to that 200 moving average on the daily time frame, I would start to be bullish here on Pudgy Penguins. I would say, all right, you just had your little mini bear market here on Pudgy Penguins, and this was the lows that you could have got it for. And we're going to continue onto a bull run in 2026 here for Pudgy Penguins. then, you know, two pennies going on to 3 and 4 pennies next, right? That would be the bull market for 2026, 2027, if that's the way it's going to play out. Okay, but right now, I think realistically, and in the short term here, penny and a half is, you'll be lucky if you're able to sell Pudgy Penguins at that level there. Okay, and then as far as like downside, I mean, don't lose a penny where you're at right now, because it could get nasty. You could see a half a penny here for Pudgy Penguins. All right, so that's up Pengu. Let's go ahead and take a look at Solana, and then we gotta look at Hyper and Zora. All right, so I'm currently looking at Solana trading at $126.50. Get rid of the VRVP indicator for now. Let's just look at we'll just look at the moving averages here. Once again, you know, I already said it here in the live stream, but 200-day moving average or below 200-day moving average, you're in a bear market. Solana went into its own bear market here on November 3rd when it lost that 200-day moving average. Okay, we kind of like tested it, tried to use it as support back here in October, but then we broke through it here in November 3rd. Okay, and you didn't even get a chance to actually bearishly backtest it before you continue going down to lower prices here on Solana. Okay, but it looks like the last lower high that you need to beat is going to be back here on November 11th. Okay, at $171 Solana. Okay, if we ever get back up to that level, I would strongly consider taking some profit and selling some of your Solana at that price, because we don't know if we're actually going to get up to that level. And if you do, you should be happy and thankful and probably clicking that sell button. Not financial advice, but yeah, because we just don't know if we're going to come visit the lows again here on Solana. Okay, now I'll try to make a little bit of a bullish case here for Solana. It looks like the lows on November 21st came in at 121.47. Then we had another higher low here at 123.08. And then today we came down to 123.58. I mean, you're playing with fire coming down to these levels at 121, 123 bucks here. Okay. So I guess we could say that we need to maintain 123 bucks here on Solana, or else it could be game over, right? Because if you're not going to maintain $123, that means you're going lower. And then how far low could you go down on Solana? Well, this is where I like to pull the VRVP indicator to figure out what those levels might be below us using realistic data from the volumes of buy and sells throughout the last year. And when I pull that VRVP indicator here to the right, we do have a little bit of volume here at 120 bucks, which is not too far off from where we are right now, so I'm not sure if that's even worth even mentioning. But we also got another high volume node here about 107 bucks to 103 bucks. So 103 to 107 is where Solana could go next if we're not going to actually start catching some bids and going up to higher prices here. Okay, so I'd be looking out for that level. Of course, you know, the lows for the year here in 2025, we did see Solana go down to like $95 on April 7th. That would probably be another level to look out below you for Solana. Okay, levels to look for to the upside would be probably this POC at 138 bucks. It's only $10 away, but it's showing that a good majority of people have bought Solana over the last, you know, 10 months here. They have bought Solana at $138. Okay, that's going to be a resistance area. I'm not saying that we can't get up to 138 bucks, but getting past 138 bucks, you're going to have a good significant volume, and you're going to have probably some positive catalysts to get you to push past 130 bucks. But once you do that, the volume starts dropping off here on the VRVP. There might be some resistance here at $151, which is an area that, you know, people were buying and selling Solana here in July and also here in April. So $150 Solana could be the next target after you get past 138. Then we got another high volume node here at 177 bucks, and that's right where that 200-day moving average is sitting at. All right, you get up to that level, and I would strongly consider clicking that sell button. Not financial advice, but I would strongly consider clicking that sell button if Solana gets up to that level there. I know I will. I got some Solana myself that I'm trying to offload at higher prices. I'm not trying to do that right now because I already sold a bunch of my crypto earlier this year at higher prices than where we are right now, thank God. Okay, but I am going to try to sell the rest of my Solana, next year, and hopefully at higher prices than where we are right now. All right, and the reason why I'm trying to wait till next year is because, next year is what? Only like 16 days away, right? I mean, January 1st, right? But I can save some money on taxes by not selling all my crypto in 1 year. So I do want to sell some of my crypto in 2026. That way I don't get a big tax bill, for next year. Not financial advice. You do what you want to do, but that's what I've been doing in these crypto bull runs. I've been trying to sell some crypto towards the end of the year, and then I'll try to sell some more at the beginning of the next year. TGR wants to take a look at XRP. All right, we'll take a look at that. We got a couple more requests before XRP, but we will take a look at that. We got to look at Hyper and Zora before we get to XRP. Good to see you, Duality C. I see Duality C's waving, and he's got the alien face emoji. That's awesome. Okay, I'm doing a live stream here on TikTok and YouTube here. Live streaming on both platforms here. So you just gotta bear with me. I try to catch up with the chat whenever I can. If I miss a request, just let me know, guys. If you guys got a request and I feel like if you feel like I missed your comment or whatever, just comment again. All right, but yeah, Solana. I gave you the upside targets here. Downside target, we could see low 100s here for Solana based off of the VRVP data, but also probably because of this bear flag. Let me see if I draw out this bear flag. If this is going to be a bear flag here for Solana, do I really need to draw out the actual flag portion? I'm just going to do the measure move, but the measure move, oh my god, the measure move puts you where we could see Solana get down to like $81. That would be lower than the lows that we saw for the year in April, right? When Solana got down to $95. This bear target saying we could get lower than that. I would hate to see that, but it is saying that's an idea or a possibility. I'm not saying it's going to actually happen, but it's an idea here. If we continue that violent sell-off that we saw here in November and just do it all over again going into like January, we could see Solana at $81 here. All right, moving on from Solana, we'll take a look at Hyper. And I appreciate you guys, putting in these requests here. Because if not, I mean, it would be a short live stream, but I'll try to be live for like another hour here, guys. If you guys keep me busy here, appreciate that. We're looking at Hyper, currently trading at 13.5 cents, down 6% today. And yeah, sure, Hyper definitely has seen its version of a bear market. Looks like it started here in July of 2025 here. But since then, it's been making lower highs, lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high. Then we had the October 10th violent sell-off liquidity event, where this thing got as low as like 7 cents. Keep that in mind. All right. Looking at the VRVP indicator here, I mean, I think it gives you all the levels to be looking out for that are most likely the levels that it's going to hit. And we got a value area low sitting at about 9 cents. There are some people that bought this cryptocurrency at 9 cents. Looks like we saw 9 cents right here in June as well. It's actually got as low as like 8.5 cents. But still, I think 9 cents is your target to the downside, where you can scoop up some cheaper Hyper if it does get down to that level. To the upside, if we can climb up to higher prices here, we do got a POC at 16.5 cents roughly. That's probably a good area for a short-term profit taking, and if you're going to do a swing trade or a day trade, maybe you're looking for 16 cents to the upside here. if we were to continue past that level, that blue line at 16.5 cents, we do got another volume node here at 20 cents. Okay, 20 cents is where people were trading this thing back here in October. Okay, you got to think about it for a second here. Like the people that bought here in October, they probably thought they were buying the dip, right? Because this thing has been dipping down and going down to low prices. However, they bought at 20 cents and now we're at 13 cents. So they didn't buy the dip because this thing just kept on dipping on them. Okay, so you got to think, like, if this thing does get back up to 20 cents, there's probably going to be some people that want to get out at 20 cents because they probably weren't going to be in it for the long term. Maybe they were trying to do a swing trade where they were going to be in it for a few weeks or a few months. So if this thing does climb back up to 20 cents, they're out. They can actually get out of hyper at 20 cents and break even. Okay, but if you get past that level and you continue being bullish, then we do have another level here to look out for. That's at 26 cent level, and that's probably, you know, the people that bought here in September thinking that they bought the dip on hyper, right? Okay, and then of course you got the value area high sitting at about 33 cents, and that would be the people that bought that thought they were buying the dip here in August. Okay, they'll probably be clicking the sell button and trying to break even if this thing ever gets back up to 33 cents. Hope that makes sense to you guys. Okay, because I'm pretty sure that's how it would go down if we actually do get up to those prices there. And that's just using the VRVP indicator here, which I think is a very powerful indicator for a lot of traders and investors to start using. I've been using it myself. I watched another YouTuber who taught me a lot about the VRVP indicator, and that's Frankie Candles. If you guys ever get a chance to look at Frankie Candles, he's a very popular YouTuber that uses the VRVP indicator almost all the time here. And he actually uses like the fixed range volume profile indicator. I use the VRVP because it just adjusts to like whatever time frame I'm on, and it also adjusts to like whatever, you know, however far back I want to go. Because if I zoom in, right, if I zoom in and only show you like what happened in December, then this changes the VRVP indicator here. Okay, now you can see like the POC is like at 15 cents, the value area high is at 16.5. But I think this is a very powerful indicator to start using, and I teach you guys how to set it up here on the on my TikTok channel here. You know, I got the VRVP indicator video there, and I also got the VRVP indicator video on my YouTube as well. You know, you have to go into videos here, and let's see. You know, it's there it is. There's the VRVP indicator video right there for YouTube as well. Okay. So I love using this indicator, and I learned a lot from Frankie Candles. I also learned how to set it up from another YouTuber, Crypto Lifer, uses the VRVP indicator. And one thing that I got out of watching Crypto Lifer at the time was like he sets it up so like when you set the VRVP indicator, it's probably going to just have 24 rows, and it's going to look something like this. It's going to be like these big blocks here, which, I mean, you could kind of get an idea as to like what levels to look for. But if you want to be a little bit more precise, then you want to go into the row size and actually put a 0 next to that 240, next to the 24, and you get 240 here. And then you start seeing the exact levels, and it's a little bit more precise when you got 240 for the row size for the VRVP indicator. Joanna is asking about Co-AI. What happened there? From what I know, it looks like it's just like every other altcoin, and it's probably a pump and dump. Okay, but it's also one of the brand new cryptocurrencies. Doesn't really have that much following. And the people that bought in the beginning, the venture capitalists, they probably sold their Co-AI as soon as it like 10x, you know, their profits and whatnot. So a lot of selling pressure from the original investors that got in the project probably before it even went public on the exchanges here. So that's the one thing you got to watch out for with these brand new cryptocurrencies. But I can take a look at it. I'll write it down as a request. We can look at it later. That's going to be after we take a look at XRP. Bob Sen says, you're going to long at 123 for Solana, but you're not sure. I mean, taking a long on Solana at 123 is not that bad of an idea. I mean, right now I think it's at 126, but I mean, you could take a long on it. I'm not sure if you're leverage trading it, but even if you were leverage trading it, you could just put the stop loss right near 100. I think $121 is where we got down to in November. So you're really buying like the lows, like the last few weeks here, at 123 bucks. So I just put the stop loss at like 120 or 121 bucks, and then if you get stopped out, you're not gonna lose too much for being wrong. Okay, but you know, in order to make money, you do have to take some risk, and I feel like buying Solana at $123 is not that risky right now if you're gonna put the stop loss tight at like 120 bucks. All right, let's move on to Zora here. And then I'm gonna try to do a quick shout out because I know Road Dog Crypto came in to the live stream. I don't know if Road Dog's still there. Let me know if you're still there, Road Dog. Put a 1 in the chat or something. But I'm gonna give a shout out to you after I look at the Zora here, okay? Because usually Road Dog gives me a bunch of shout outs on his channel. So I definitely got to give him a shout out, especially with him showing up in the chat here. All right. Let's see, Zora currently trading at about roughly 4.5 cents, 0.046 pennies. Gonna stick to using this VRVP indicator because it's a very useful indicator. Why not? And just looking at the VRVP indicator here, you can see that, you know, we are playing around with losing a lot of money if we stay in Zora and we don't hold these levels. Like we had the low here in December 1st at 0.042 pennies here. I think if you lose that level, it's going to be like, look out below Geronimo. You're going to come down and probably hit maybe 0.027 pennies here. As you got a high volume node over there, and then you got another high volume node here at 2 cents. Could be your support areas for Zora to the downside if we are going to see some more downside here. Okay. But if we are going to start seeing some upside, then we got levels look out above us. We got probably, you know, it would be nice to see Zora hit 6 cents here. 6 cents is an area that you were trading at. Buyers and sellers were settling up at 6 cents here in the beginning of November. It's also a level that here in September as well. And then also a level to look out for here back here in August. Okay. Can I get more data than this? Looks like Zora is relatively new here on Coinbase Exchange. It started trading here in April, so that's all I can get here for data. But yeah, I think 6 cents is what you're looking for to the upside for Zora, just because that high volume node is sitting there, and you got people that were buying at these levels the last few months. And if you do go up to like 6 cents, I mean, you do have probably a 50-day moving average that can provide some resistance here. That's sitting at about 6.5 cents, although it is starting to trend down. So I think if you do climb up here, this moving average is also going down, and by the time these two meet, if the price meets up with the moving average, that 50-day moving average, it's probably going to coincide with 6 cents. And I think, you know, 6 cents, not only is it like an easy number to remember psychologically, but it is a VRVP level to look for, and it's probably going to be a moving average to look out for to the upside here for Zora. All right, moving on from Zora, let's go ahead and give out a shout out to Road Dog Crypto. And I see Trade Intuitions in the chat, just in time for me to give out a shout out to Trade Intuition as well. All right, but let's take a look at Road Dog here because he actually came in earlier. He said it's hello, but I'm pretty sure he's a pretty busy guy. He's probably getting himself ready for his next live stream. I think he goes live around like 10:30 p.m. Eastern time consistently. Last time I checked. Although sometimes he does some afternoon streams. I actually did see Road Dog do an afternoon stream earlier today. He actually did a stream 2 hours ago. All right, and he's got some really interesting thumbnails, to say the very least. Great music, very funny guy, but you can also learn a lot from him because he goes over the moving average strategies. He goes over the Fibonacci levels. Very good TA guy here. Okay, and then another crypto YouTuber that you guys gotta check out. That's also in the chat here. Is Trade Intuition. And Trade Intuition, he has about a couple of thousand subscribers here, 2,600 subscribers. And Trade Intuition also does his lives around 9 p.m. Eastern time here. At least that's what he puts up in the description. But sometimes I see him showing up on the afternoons as well. Me, personally, I've actually been doing afternoon live streams for the longest time here, the last 2 months. But I'm actually moving my time slot to 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern time here. Around this time, just because I feel like I might be able to get a few more viewers around this time slot versus the afternoon live streams. Kind of seems like most people are at work or at school. But anyways, going back to the shadow here with Trade Intuition, you gotta check him out. He's got some good music to listen to in the background as well, and he's got some good TA as well. So you can definitely give Trade Intuition a like, a follow, and a subscribe if you can. Alright, okay, going back to the charts here, we gotta take a look at XRP. Let's see what XRP is doing here. XRP currently trading at $1.89. Ooh, I think we lost that $1.98 level that I was keying on. Alright, but I'm gonna stick to using the VRVP indicator here. We'll just continue using that VRVP indicator here. And I'm just going to let this thing adjust itself, because I know it probably does want to adjust itself. But yeah, we got the VRVP indicator here. And yeah, the reason why I was looking for $1.98 to hold was because that was the value area low, this white line here. Okay, where, you know, we usually get bounces off those areas. Alright, and it's an area that people thought they were buying the lows here for XRP whenever we actually did come down to $1.98. And it's also a psychological level, like $1.98 is close to like $2. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to buy $2 XRP so I can sell it for like $3 or $4 and double my money. Okay, so a lot of people subscribe to that idea, and looks like we're not able to hold $1.98 or $2 here. And if we're not able to hold that, then this is where it gets a little bit more violent as well. You gotta look out below, because you're not going to get that much support until you come down to like $1.50, where you got a high volume node here sitting at $1.50. Between like $1.50 and $1.36 is where XRP could go next, if it's going to get a little bit more nasty out there in cryptocurrency world. Okay, and then of course if that doesn't hold up, then then we got some volume here at $1.12. Okay, $1.12 is where XRP could go down to, and this is basically just looking back in time here. Around November of 2024 is where XRP was trading at about $1, $1.12. Okay, so those people there, you would think, would provide some support for us, because they're in profit right now, but they're not going to be at break even until we get down to $1.12. And if we lose $1.12, then they're going to start sweating some bullets and clicking the sell button as well. Okay, and this $1.50 area, this is coinciding with the people that bought XRP back in late November of last year, going into pretty much late November of last year. People were buying XRP at that price, and you would like to think that they're not going to click the sell button unless we start losing $1.50. All right, Lorene's about to head out, saying goodnight. Let's see, about 5 hours. You're 5 hours ahead of us, so. Yeah, it's about almost like 11:30, almost 12 o'clock for you over in Ireland. But thank you for coming out to the live stream here, Lorene. Maybe when you wake up is right when I'll be going to bed, and maybe we can catch up on the chat over in the Discord, see what's going on over there in cryptocurrency world. All right, Trade Intuition. What did he say? Eating some chicken soup with lots of broth. Okay, that's kind of like a meal that people have when they have like a flu or a cold or something. Are you trying to fight off a cold or a flu, or is that just I mean, it's good to eat whether you're sick or not. Nothing wrong with chicken noodle soup or chicken broth. Now you're making me hungry. Let's see. Let's continue on here with the analysis here on XRP. So I gave you the downside targets only because like XRP is flirting around with losing, you know, and going down the lower prices here. But if XRP is able to catch some bids here, levels look out above you on at least on the daily time frame. You might get rejected off of $2.09, which is this white 21 EMA exponential moving average line. Could cause us to I mean, it's been giving us problems, right? This 21 EMA has been giving us problems every time we come up to it. So I would expect 209 to at least act as resistance until it's no longer resistance, right? That 21 EMA is going to be a problem here. Okay, but then going forward to like higher prices on XRP, we got a point of control sitting at 218. So 209, 218 might be some good areas to try to sell your XRP at. This point of control is the highest volume node. It's an area where majority of people, I mean, even if you weren't using the VRVP indicator here, you could actually kind of like eyeball it by looking at the charts here. If I get rid of the moving averages and everything, look at this. Like a good majority of people bought XRP around like 218, 220, somewhere between like 215, 220, all throughout 2025. Okay, so if these people here are afraid of us going into like the bear market in crypto, then they're probably going to try to sell their XRP at break even and think like they're getting away with, you know, not having the brunt, the pain of a bear market here. Okay, if they're able to just get out at break even. Okay, so I think 215, 220 is going to be tough for us to push past until it's no longer tough for us to push past, and then maybe we might see XRP actually get up to like 280. Okay, which is where majority of people were buying in the summer, the late summer of 2025. This is an area for us to look for XRP if we're able to actually get up to that level. Trade Intuition says new Instapot learning how to cook. It was learning how to cook or getting married. I picked learning how to cook. The forces of truth. Okay. Yeah, I remember. I hear you in your live streams talking about that. You've been through what, 2 marriages already? And if you were to get married again, it'll be your third time, your third go at it. Man, I haven't even been married once. But I mean, I had to break up myself. I was in a relationship for like 4 years, and you know, maybe I got off easy because I never got married, but it still ended. So. I didn't have to pay for a divorce attorney or anything like that, or even a wedding for that matter. But I do want to get married, so if you guys know anybody, you know, single ladies out there that are interested in starting a family, hopefully you don't. Or I'm not looking for a pre-made family, so I'm not really like interested in single mothers. Unless you want to have more kids, because I actually do want to have kids. So like that would be like, you know, I don't know, something that we'll have to figure out. Well, maybe we'll do like a dating live stream one day where we're not going to talk about crypto and stocks. We'll talk about like our dating lives here. But anyways, let's get back to it here. Thank you, Nate, for following me here on TikTok. Thank you with the shit for following me here on TikTok as well. Appreciate that. All right, and Dikaba, thank you for following me here. I think I said your name right. Dan says I do solid work. Keep it up. Thank you, Dan. And Crypto Nizzy says, do I think Hypers is gonna bottom out? Man, if it doesn't bottom out here, then when is it gonna bottom out? This is basically what I gotta ask, right? I think we already looked at the analysis there. I don't want to go back to it, but if you want to rewatch my live streams, then you can come find me on the Meet Damien YouTube channel here, okay? And you can rewatch the live streams and see what my analysis was on on hyper, because we did talk about hyper earlier in the live stream here, but I don't want to repeat myself because we gotta look at co-AI for Joanna. Okay, and yeah, I don't really want to repeat myself, but I mean, if you really need to know, then let me look at co-AI first, and then I'll give you like a summary analysis about hyper. But we got another request that came in here. We gotta look at MEXC now. I think that's immutable. Bob Sen says the VRVP indicator is not free on TradingView. That might be the case. That actually might be the case. If it's not free, then you can sign up for TradingView, and I think like they have monthly subscription plans. You don't have to get like a yearly subscription plan. But if you're trying to save some money on the subscription plan for TradingView, then I do have the links in my bio here, right? For TikTok, like you can get a $15 discount if you use this this link right here. Save some money on TradingView. Okay. Same thing for my YouTube guys. I got the link right here. $15 discount referral code for TradingView. Okay. Hopefully that helps. All right, let's move on from XRP. We're gonna now take a look at COAI, which was like the talk of the town back in October, right? And then we had a nasty November. All right, let's take a look at COAI. Is COAI done going down? Are we bottoming out yet? All right, because I have looked at this thing a bunch of times here in October, and we looked at it a few times here in November. I think this is like the first time I looked at COAI on the live stream for December here. COAI is currently trading at 54 cents, down 5.6% today. And you can see, like, this thing was a talk of the town. Classic pump and dump, right? Where, before it even showed up on the exchanges, I'm pretty sure the venture capitalists, they bought a bunch of COAI. They probably 10x or 100x their money already when this thing went up to like 20 bucks. Then you got a double top here at 1997. And for those who pay attention to patterns and know what a double top is, this was like your warning signal to get out of COAI, because after that double top came in on October 24th, it didn't take much long for other traders and investors to see that and be like, ah shit, this thing is done going up. All right, or at least it's probably not going to try to go up, and it got violently sold off the next day on Saturday, October 25th, where you lost 57% that day. Okay. Then there were some people, including myself, that were trying to put some bets in that we could try to maybe bounce off the $4 or $5 level here, because we did get a bounce here on October 20th. That did get respected at that level, but that didn't help. Nope. We just kept on losing after that, losing, and now we gotta figure out, like, are we bottoming out here on COAI? Let me pull the VRVP indicator. We'll show you what the VRVP indicator has to show here. And yeah, okay, so the VRVP indicator is showing that most of the volume here, the majority of people bought at right where we're at right now at 52 cents. That's probably because we've been trading at 50 cents for like a few weeks now, since like November 21st, okay? But, we do have some more volume below us at like 13 cents. Yikes. Okay, so this bad boy of a crypto could actually come down to 13 cents, and I think that's like where the majority of the early investors got in like the end of September here, at least here on MEXC exchange. They got in at like 13 cents. That's where your support zone is for COAI if COAI is going to continue dropping like a rock here. All right, but also there's another level that I highlighted here, and it's a high volume node here sitting at like 34 cents. I think COAI could come down to that level. Obviously we'll come down to that level before it actually goes down to 13 cents, but maybe 33 cents holds. We only came down to 33 cents once here. I take that back. We went down to 36 cents here on November 21st, but that was a very crucial area to try to scoop up some cheap COAI, and it didn't happen for too long, because after that we went right back up to like 40-50 cents here on COAI, and we haven't really looked back. for this thing to go below that. So that's the only saving grace, is that you're not actually going down. You're going sideways, but at least you're not going down here on CoAI. Okay. Now let me go ahead and take out the VRVP. I'm gonna pull some oscillators to below us to see if we're actually getting like maybe a bullish divergence showing up here on the charts with the RSI indicator here. And I mean, this thing kind of looks like flatline dead. This is just hanging out like at 39, not really making higher lows or higher highs. It looks like CoAI is just, no one's trading it, to be honest. Especially after that nasty drop in towards the end of October and beginning of November. There's no bullish divergence, so I don't even know if this is the end of it for CoAI. CoAI could still continue dropping here because you're not getting any bullish divergence, at least not on the RSI. Let's see if there's anything here with the MACD. On the MACD, selling pressure was obviously violent towards the end of October, dying off here in November. Of course, we bottom out November 21st. Then we got the buying pressure showing up. And buying pressure it's there, but it's not like significant. Okay, at least on the daily time frame here. And the buying pressure is actually dying off too. So I don't see, I don't see bullish divergence using the MACD as well. And I mean, you're okay. You're not completely bleeding. Okay, bleeding off to like, down to zero, but you're also not getting any excitement here. And the oscillators are showing that too. Now here I do see potential positive, something positive here. You got money flow, right? Which was obviously negative in October, beginning of November. Money flow has been steadily creeping up where you're not bleeding off as much. And now you do have a small sliver of green showing up here on CoAI. And then here on the the market cipher B indicator here, you got a green buy dot that came in last Friday on December 12th. And the momentum is sharply rising up. So what, did CoAI have a pretty good weekend is what this is kind of telling me here in the charts? Let's see. On Friday, you opened at 49 cents. You went up 4%. On Saturday, you went up 8%. On Sunday, you actually went up as high as like 66 cents before coming back down again. So, a decent few days. You had 3 green candles on the daily time frame here. So it was like a decent weekend for CoAI. Could this be the start of like people getting somewhat excited to start buying CoAI again? I don't know. But you do have a higher low compared to what you did here on December 1st, which is also a higher low compared to what you did here on November 21st. So you do have the higher low argument that the bulls can argue to the bears here and say, hey guys, we're not going down, so how are you making money if you're shorting it if we're not going down, right? That's the only argument that the bulls have here, is that they're making higher lows here. I would like to start seeing higher highs be made at some point here. Can you get back up to the level here at like 76 cents and like you did here in the middle of November? Let me turn that VRVP indicator one more time, see what that has to say here. So the VRVP indicator is showing that the value area high is at $1.20. If we get up to $1.20, I think that's going to be tough for CoAI to push past, because you got people here that bought here at $1.20 on November 7th and November 8th. They probably thought they were buying a dip on CoAI, only for CoAI to then drop another 50% on them from where they bought it at. So I think $1.20, it's going to be tough for CoAI to get past. And I feel like whoever bought here is probably going to click the sell button to just break even. All right, you're welcome, Joanna. Thank you for coming into the live stream here, and thank you for liking the live too. Don't forget to share with your friends. Let them know that there's some good TA here, good technical analysis here with the Meet Damien channel here on TikTok. I'm also on YouTube as well, so if they have YouTube, they can also find me on YouTube and subscribe. All right, D2 Miami wants to take a good V chain. That. And then we gotta look at MEXC after this. And I think those are gonna be the last two requests here, guys. Unless you guys got a last minute request, I'm gonna make those the last two, and then I'm gonna try to finish off on Bitcoin, and then I'm out. It's gonna be it for this live stream here. All right, so let's look at MEXC, immutable. Take a look at on. We'll take a look at on Binance. Yeah, I feel like Binance probably has the most data to go over. Immutable currently trading at 25 pennies roughly. Down 4.6%. Yikes! This thing is, I can see it right now. It looks very brutal. Very, very brutal out there. This thing's been around for a while though too. Since like January 2022. Like basically this coin started trading on Binance during the beginning of the bear market in 2022. Let me just zoom in. I don't think I need all this data here. But it's looking like just using the VRVP indicator here, you get a high volume node here at 55 cents. That's where the majority of people bought MEXC. They're buying it here in August, buying it here in May. They also bought it here back in October of 2023 and September of 2023. So if we ever climb back up to 53, 55 cents here, I feel like a lot of people are gonna click the sell button just to break even, okay? And even if you were to buy right now, just getting back up to 53, 55 cents, that's a double. So whoever buys now, they're gonna look at their account and be like, oh my god, I doubled my money. I should probably sell MEXC. So I think, MEXC going back to 55 cents, not financial advice, but I would try to join the rest of the people that are gonna try to sell at 55 cents here. Because you're gonna get the people that break even at 55 cents because they bought it at 55 cents, and then you're gonna get the people that are buying it right now and they're gonna just double their money, and they're gonna want to click the sell button too when it gets to 55 cents. But right now, immutable, you're below the value area low. So anytime you're below the value area low, you are undervalued, most likely oversold, and it's not really a bad idea to try to at least buy a little bit of this asset. Also, you are kind of like near the lows for the year, or at least this this low here in October, where how low did you go? 22 cents. So you're not far off from 22 cents. You can put a stop loss at 21 cents. And if you're wrong, you're wrong, but at least you're not risking too much money being wrong here. I think you're risking about like 10%. Let me just measure that out real quick here. From like where we are, like 25 pennies down to 21 pennies. Yeah, you'll be risking about 15%, okay? But you're risking 50% to try and get, back up to 55 cents, right? And that's about 110%. So you're risking 15% to try and get 110%. Or 100%. Not too bad of a trade to take. Even if you don't get up to that POC, but you get up to this white line, this value area low, it's about a 78% gain if you just get back up to 45 cents here. DZ, is that what you're gonna do? How about naming it Loco Latina Coin? I think that might get more traction. There probably already is a Latina coin out there. DZ wants to know the most bullish coin. You always want to know the most bullish coin. All right. So yeah, that's MEXC to the upside. Now let me just I'll give you a little bit more analysis here. So let's see what the moving average is doing here, because that could give you some problems here with this 21 EMA. This 21 EMA has acted as resistance, and I think it will continue acting as resistance until it doesn't act as resistance. And if you're asking me what is the 21 EMA, it's just this white line here that closely follows the price action. More so than the other moving averages. And this 21 EMA, every time we come up to it, we get rejected. Come up to it, get rejected. Come up to it again, get rejected. Come up to it again, get rejected. Right now that 21 EMA is sitting at 29 cents. 29.5 cents. So like somewhere in that area, if you're day trading this asset, I would try to take some profits at 29 cents. 29.5 cents roughly in that area, okay? Until we actually, if you can get above this white line, then you're doing something positive there, and you want to use that white line as support instead of resistance, where you come up to the 21 EMA, maybe come back down to it, bounce off of it, make a higher low, and then go up to higher prices after that. That's how you know you're changing your trend here, where you're making higher lows, higher highs, and you're getting above the 21 EMA, and you're coming up to try and maybe say hello to the 200-day moving average for the first time in a while here, sitting at about 50 cents. All right, moving on from MEXC, we'll take a look at VeChain, and then we'll finish off by looking at Bitcoin. And then to answer your question, DZ, most bullish coin for the week. Man, there's a lot of them are looking bearish, but I did pay attention to the fact that ZChain was actually trying to buck the trend here. ZChain might be your most bullish coin for today. I'm not sure if it's going to be like that for the rest of the week, but going into tomorrow, maybe ZChain continues being bullish here. I got to do a more deeper dive on that. Maybe I look at ZChain before I look at Bitcoin on the way out. But I think you might want to look at I said ZChain, Zcash. Ugh, I'm getting my coins mixed up here. And VET, apparently there's a VET stock, but we want VET the crypto, because I believe that's what D2 Miami was calling for here. Alright, so we got VeChain, the cryptocurrency, trading at about a penny right now, down 1.92%. Why not use the moving averages here? This 21 EMA is going to be a problem, okay? Because it's been a problem the last few months here. Every time you come up to it, you don't stay above it. We tried staying above it here towards the beginning of November, but then we lost it, okay? But then when we came back up to it in the end of November, got rejected. Keep coming up to it, and throughout the days here in December, and we keep getting rejected. Right now, that 21 EMA is at 12.127 pennies here. So you get up to that level and expect to get rejected again until you don't. And if you don't, that means you might have something. You might have just caught the bottom if it doesn't get rejected, right? But yeah, get above that 21 EMA, and then we could talk about maybe trying to climb up to that 50 moving average at 0.17 pennies, or even the 200-day sitting at roughly 2 pennies here. Okay, but damn, this is looking brutal here. You never been this low on VeChain. You're near the lows for the year. You're near like the lowest lows, like all-time low. ATL, not ATH, but ATL. But looks like the actual ATL was October 10th, where you did get down to like 0.0097 pennies here. I mean, I would just, not financial advice, but I would take a chance and try to long now and put the stop loss right below the October 10th low. 0.009, maybe 0.0096 pennies. And if you get stopped out, you're wrong, okay? But you're not going to lose that much being wrong. Let's see, how much would you lose if I take it down from where we are right now to down here? I mean, alright, maybe you lose 14% for being wrong, but still, like, The upside, if you can get past this 21 EMA, maybe the upside might be that 50 moving average up 61%, or the 200-day moving average sitting at you'd be up about 85% if you get up to that 200-day moving average. Man, oh man, oh man. All-time lows for the most part. Let me pull up that VRVP indicator here one more time. Value area low sitting at about a penny and a half. Could be a target to look for. Then you got a high volume node here at like 0.016 pennies, and then you got another high volume node here at roughly 2 pennies. I think I already said 2 pennies, right? Because that's like, it's kind of like where the moving averages are at. At least that 100-day and the 200-day is sitting about 2 pennies. So I think you're just targeting 2 pennies, right? And for most people, that's going to be great because you buy here at 1 penny, going to 2 pennies is doubling your money. And I think most people will be happy with that. Especially with the way cryptocurrencies have been so crappy throughout this year. If you can actually double your money in any of these cryptos, then you're doing all right. Forget doing like 5x or 10x. Just doubling your money is like, seems like an amazing feat to do in crypto right now. All right, I want to look at Zcash, and then I'm gonna look at Bitcoin on the way out. So DZ was wondering, like, what's the most bullish coin for the week here? And right now, Zcash is up 1.9% today, when most other cryptocurrencies are down, like 4 or 5% down or more. Let's look at the Zcash real quick here. We got the VRVP indicator. I'm gonna keep using it because it's great. We are actually at a high volume node here at 410 bucks. We got another high volume node here at 435, and then we got another high volume node here at 460. 460 is where I would most likely try to take profit on the a leverage long here if I was gonna go leverage long day trading on Zcash. Because you just don't know if you're just going to get rejected and come down to lower prices again. But if you don't get rejected at 460, you got another high volume node here at 500 bucks. Easy enough, right? I think a lot of people probably already have that number in mind. But it is a number where 500 bucks was like where some people thought they were catching the bottom, or catching, not the bottom, but they thought they were catching the lows. Making a higher low here on Zcash, only for us to then make lower lows going towards the end of November. So these people thought they were buying the dip here at 500 bucks. If they're not long-term investors here, if they're just swing trading it, only in it for like a few weeks, few months, by the time we get back up to 500 bucks, they might say, hey, you know what? I'm out of this thing because I just want to break even and get out. So I think 500 bucks is your ultimate long-term swing trade target for Zcash. But, you know, 460, you know, we could hit 460 on Zcash later on this week if Bitcoin can get its butt in the gear and actually, you know, stop playing around with making lower lows here. Then we could see Zcash try to follow suit, and actually maybe Zcash leads us to the promised land to higher prices here, where we get up to like 500 bucks later on this month. But I'm not gonna throw out these crazy targets anything further than 500 bucks. I think, you know, let's see how we handle ourselves at 460 before we start talking about 500 bucks here, or even higher than that. But, you know, going up to 500 bucks, that would be almost like a 25% gain from where we are right now. Let me just measure that out right now. If we measure from where we are here to like 500 bucks, that's like a 24% gain, roughly, for Zcash. All right, let's move on from Zcash. We'll take a look at Bitcoin on the way out. Bitcoin at 86,421. I think we are trying to climb up to higher prices. We shall see. I think it's very funny how Wall Street opens up for business at like 9:30 a.m. and we start immediately selling off and crashing when Wall Street decides to, you know, open up and sell their Bitcoin. And then around like 4 p.m. when Wall Street goes away for the day, that's when we actually see Bitcoin start climbing back up again. So I'm blaming today's sell-off on Wall Street. Yeah. I'm gonna blame it on anybody. Blame it on Wall Street. But I mean, I guess you could have made, you know, some money shorting crypto had you known Wall Street was gonna sell off like this. But let's take a look at Bitcoin. You know, if Bitcoin is gonna climb up to higher prices here, I think 94, 95K is the area that we're gonna look for later on this week. If we are able to get up to that area, it's the area that we were trading at sideways here back in the middle of November. But if I zoom out and I put on that VRVP indicator, you'll see that we have a high volume node here at 96K. 96K is an area that I've been talking about for like a couple of weeks now, where I'm expecting us to possibly make a lower high here if Bitcoin's going to continue being bearish. But it's going to be an area that where it's going to be hard for us to push past, because a lot of people bought and sold here. There's going to be a lot of volume to chew through. And the people that bought at 96K, they might, if they think we're going to go into a bear market, they're going to sell at 96K and say, thank God I got out, I break even. Okay? So you get out at break even at 96K. I think there's going to be a lot of people selling their Bitcoin at that area, because they were buying at that area, that 96K level. And if they're not true believers in Bitcoin and crypto, then they're gonna just try to break even and get the hell out. All right, but if we get past 96K, there is some high volume nodes here at 102K. That's the next area that we could still come up to and still make a lower high before going down to lower prices here. And then we also got a high volume node here at 105K. You can still go up to 105K and make a lower high. And the reason why I say lower high is because the last lower high was 107K here on November 11th. If you get up past 107K on Bitcoin, I think you would be happy, I would be happy, a lot of people would be happy, and you start making a case that maybe this was all one big bad dream here, and maybe we're going to be in an uptrend on Bitcoin. Alright, but even then, I still am not going to officially turn bullish on Bitcoin until we get above the 200-day moving average. This is sitting at 108K. So basically, we got to get to like 108K, guys, for me to be bullish on Bitcoin again. All right. Until then, I mean, I think it's going to be tough for us to do, but if we do it, I'll be very pleasantly surprised and happy for everybody, including myself, if Bitcoin gets up to 108K. All right. So those are levels to look out for. In the immediate levels to look out to the upside is going to be like 95, 96K if we actually are able to get to that level. To the downside, don't lose 84K. You could still go down to like 84K, and that would still qualify as a higher low and frustrate the crap out of the bears who are trying to push us down below 84K, because we came down to 83,800 on December 1st. That was the last higher low. If we just stop going down from where we are right now, then this ends up being another higher low. Frustrates the crap out of the bears, and then we might see, you know, Bitcoin push back up to above 90K again, all over again. Okay? But you start losing 84K, then it's like, alright, well, what are we doing here? Then the next low that we have to stay above is 80,500. And if you lose that, then yeah, then we start seeing, you know, people talking about Bitcoin going back to 74K. And maybe even like into the 60s. Okay, but those are the levels to look out on the downside. You're just looking for, let's stay above 84K. Can we do that? If not, can we stay above 80,500? If we can't do that, then I'm sorry guys, it's probably game over. We are going to lower prices if we can't even hold 80K. But we shall see, and that's why you guys stay tuned. I'll be going live again, same time tomorrow, probably a little bit early, probably around like 4 p.m. Eastern time, as when I'll plan on starting the live stream. But be on the lookout for the live stream tomorrow. That should be after they do the jobs report, so we'll see how that comes out and how that's affecting the markets. And yeah, we got some things to look out for, guys. But I think we could get a bounce back to higher prices, especially tomorrow, if the jobs report is bad but not too bad. Because if the jobs report is really, really bad and we're losing jobs, then that creates its own problems where we start worrying about a recession here. But let me just look at the oscillators here real quick here. On the MACD, we are starting to see a red candle on the daily time frame. That's not good. Okay, we could see more red if that's going to be the case here. On the 4-hour time frame, obviously we have selling pressure showing up here on the 4-hour time frame. Then on the 1-hour time frame, we did see selling pressure get strong towards like the middle of the day here. That's probably when Wall Street went on their lunch break, and you know, thank God they went on their lunch break, because then, you know, we were able to stop selling for a little bit there. And then it looks like around like 4 p.m. like I said, after Wall Street went home, those guys, once they stopped clicking the sell button, then we were actually able to start going up to higher prices here, and the selling pressure is dying off. So maybe we get a little bit of a relief rally going into later on to tonight, going into tomorrow morning here. You did get a green buy dot here at 4 p.m. Literally, like when Wall Street went away is when we can actually start climbing up to higher prices again here for crypto. So there you go, guys. You guys wanted Wall Street to get involved and have the big money guys come in, and it's all great when things are going up, but when things are going down, Wall Street, they got more crypto to sell than you and me. So when they decide to dump things down, you can see it right there in the charts. You know, Wall Street came in, decided to sell on us here at 9 a.m. Eastern time, and it didn't come to an end until Wall Street closed up shop and went home. All right, now we can actually see Bitcoin maybe get a little bit of relief here. Thank you, Trade Intuition, for the comments, compliments. You're welcome. Try to share my knowledge, or you know, as best as I can, the knowledge that I got from trading and investing. And I've been investing in the stock market ever since I turned 18 years old, which was years ago, almost I could say a couple of decades ago, maybe. If that gives you an idea how old I am. And then you know, I've been investing in crypto since 2017 and trading it, you know, around like 2018. So yeah, you guys are welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed the TA here, Orange Crypto. Glad for you guys to come on to the live stream. You got up to like 7,400 likes here on TikTok. Appreciate that. And yeah, you'll see me tomorrow, same time, probably a little bit early. I'll try to get in at around like 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right. But yeah, I'll try to make it like another 2-hour live stream for tomorrow. Take care, guys. Good luck trading and investing in whatever asset you decide to get into.